have Tzadi Aleph on the base. We'll begin Tzadi Aleph on Aleph, 6 lines from the bottom. Continuing on with the Shita of Rav, and Rav said that even though Rav Shimon said that the Gagas Chatzeres or Karpivas are all Rishus Achas, and therefore you can transfer from one to the other, even if there are different owners. He said, however, that's only if the members of the Chatzer did not make their own Eruv. If the members of the Chatzer made their Eruv, what we're concerned about is there might have been Kalim that started off in the house on the onset of Shabbos. Now, since there's an Eruv, they're allowed to bring it in the Chatzer. So you might have in the Chatzer that you have Kalim that were from the house, Kalim that originated in the Chatzer. Now, even though we allow you to carry from Chatzer to Chatzer and Chatzer to Karpov, etc., to a Gag, but that's only for Kalim that did not originate in the house. But Kalim that originated in the house on the onset of Shabbos, when Shabbos came in, they were in the house. We do not let you transfer from Chatzer to Chatzer. They're considered Kalim of the bias, not Kalim of the Chatzer. So therefore, Rav learns in Rav Shimon, if there's an Eruv, you can't carry from Chatzer to Chatzer because you might carry the Kalim of the bias from Chatzer to Chatzer. So Masiv Rav Sheshes, Asir Kashem, Rabbi Shimon, Rav Shimon says that Echad Gagais ve'Echad Chatzeres ve'Echad Karpifa is Rishus Achas and L'Kelim Sheshavsa B'Seich. They're one rishus for the kalim that originated in them, in those areas, but not for kalim that originated in the house, not for kalim that were in the house on the onset of Shabbos. So, if we're talking in a case where there's an eruv, so I know the mishkach slaman of the bottom of Chatzer, I understand how you have the kalim of the houses and the Chatzer. How is it that if you have Kalim in the houses, that on the beginning of Shabbos and the onset of Shabbos you had Kalim in the houses, and now sometime during Shabbos they're in the Chatzer? Must be that there's an Eruv. And therefore it's saying that even though there's an Eruv, those Kalim you can't transfer, but Kalim that originate in the Chatzer you can. So doesn't that show you that even though if there was an Eruv, that even though it was an Eruv, you could transfer Kalim that originated in the Chatzer from Chatzer to Chatzer. But if you're telling me that Rav Shimon only permits it, only says it's mutter where there's no Eruv. So what's this case over there? How are you going to ever have Kalim that originate in the house? How did they get to the Chatzer? So doesn't that show you that Rav Shimon is mater Kalim the Chatzer from Chatzer to Chatzer, even if there's an Eruv in the Chatzer? He asked a question and he answered, we're talking about over here in a hat or a scarf. Meaning, so there's no Eruv. Really, I'll tell you, if there was an Eruv, you can't carry any of the Kalim from the Chatzer to Chatzer. We're talking where there's no Eruv. How did Kalim that originated in the house, how did they get to the Chatzer? There was a hat, there was a cap. He was wearing it, which he's allowed to. That's not carrying, that's Derech Malbush. And he therefore put it on. He put it on in the house. He walked out of the house into the Chatzer, and then he took it off and put it down in the Chatzer. So he's allowed to carry it. It's not carrying it to Derech Malbush. And so really, I'll tell you, it's without an Eruv. Mora tries to prove again that the way Rav understands Rav Shimon is correct. Hashma, I'll bring you right from the following. If you have people in the Chatzer and people in the Merpeses, they did not make an Eruv to each other, with each other. So if you have the following scenario, you have a two-story apartment and you have a balcony that extends across, and you have a Chatzer below, and there's a staircase over here, and the staircase is from the balcony to the Chatzer below. There's an apartment here, they come down on the balcony, and they can go down to the Chatzer below with the staircase. Now, if you have something in the Chatzer, if it's high, so therefore it's high and it's accessible to the people on top, it's within 10 tefachim of the apartment on top, this is considered to be usable for the top people. It's difficult for the people on the bottom. It's easy for the people on top. So we allocate the use of this to the people on top. If it's something that's lower down, right, so it's not accessible specifically to the people on top, it's usable by both people, by both parties. So if you have that type of a scenario, the halachos is as follows. So we say that Anshe they did not make an eruv between each other. They did not join together the upstairs and the lower area. They did not join together. Like we said, that anything that if you have a mound or any area post in the chutzner which is 10 tefachim high, it's considered the use is easy for the people in the merpeset. So it's allocated to them. They can carry between their apartment and that area. But if it's lower down than there, it belongs to both of them, and therefore you cannot carry, since if they did not make an eruv together, they could have made an eruv together because there was a staircase, but if they did not make the eruv together, then it's also to both of them. When is it said? When both the upstairs was used by several residents and the downstairs by several residents, and the upstairs area made their own eruv, and the downstairs area made their own eruv. So what does that mean? That means is that if they made their own eruv, if the people on top made their own eruv, then you could have items that were originated in the houses that they brought to this merpeset. And you can have items that were in the houses and the apartments below that ended up in the chutzner that they could carry to the chutzner. And now you might have items in the chutzner that originate in the house, or items on the merpeset that originated in the house. So therefore we say that in such a case, that if the merpeset and the chutzner did not make an eruv together, then it's also. So when do we say b'med dvor mamurim? When it's also shal yuel shral shal sharab, and we say that the eruv el asm ve'el asm, and each area made their own eruv. Oy shal yechidim, or it did not belong to many people. There was one resident on top. There was one resident below. She'ein tzrichim lara, where they don't have to make an eruv, and therefore again you can have the scenario where you have items that started off in the house that end up in the chutzner or the merpeset. Aval hayu shel rabim v'shel chol eruv. But if it had many residents on the top and the bottom, and they did not make an eruv together, therefore if they didn't make an eruv together, you will not have items, or not likely to have items that originated in the house that are in the chutzner on the merpeset. So then we say, then since you wouldn't have kalim that originated in the houses, well, to carry from a gag to a chutzner and a merpeset, that's all considered one rishus, so you can transfer from one to the other. There's no requirement for an eruv, and you can transfer from one to the other. So time eruv. Where do we say over here that it's mutter between these areas only if there's no eruv? But if they made an eruv, it would be also. So doesn't this show you Rav's understanding in Rav Shimon that even Rav Shimon is mutter between these areas, even though there's different owners? But that's only if there's no eruv. But if there's an eruv where we're concerned that you might have items that originate in the houses, it's also. The more answer is how many Rabbanan. No, the Gemara says it's not a raya because over here we're discussing the shlit of the Rabbanan. It's not going according to Rav Shimon. It's going according to the Rabbanan. Dekanami, because you can bring a raya that's not Rav Shimon's like Tani Karpa V'Movai. Shmamina, because it says Gag v'Chaser v'Chsadra Merpeset. Now, if it be according to the shlit of Rav Shimon, it also should say Karpaf Umovai, because Rav Shimon holds that all of these are all considered Shus Achas. Elamai, it must be going according to the shlit of the Rabbanan, And the Rabbanan hold that from a gag to a chotzer and an achsadra and merpasas, that's one rishus, all one rishus. From a gag to gag is also. But the Rabbanan hold that a karpa for malvi is not considered one rishus. Now, the fact that it doesn't mention karpa for malvi shows you that we're not going according to the Rishon. We're going according to the Rabbanan. And therefore, you have no raya to the shita of Rishon. Tal Shema, let's bring a raya from the following. Chamesh chatzeres psuchos ulazu. Psuchos lamalvi. If you have five chatzeres, they're a row of 5 chatzeres. So there's all an opening between them. They have an open, and they're all open. Each one is open to the chatzer, meaning you don't have to have drisus regel. They're not one behind each other, so one has to pass through the other one to get to the Rishus Harabim. They all have their direct access to the Rishus Harabim, so they don't have drisus regel on each other, but they are all open to each other. So Chamesh Chatzeres Psuchos Ulazu Upsuchos Lamoi, and they're all open to the Ma'ashachu Kulam V'Lo, and they forgot to join an Erev, which at this point we understand this to mean that they did not make an Eruv, they did not even have their own Eruv, meaning not only did they not have an Eruv from one to the other, but even each Chatzer on its own did not have its own individual Eruv to allow carrying from the houses to the Chatzer. Also, you cannot carry items from the chotzer to the mavoi. You can't carry from the chotzer to the mavoi, and from the mavoi to the chotzer. The kelim sheshavsa b'chotzer, not kelim that started off Shabbos in the chotzer, muter l'taltel b'chotzer. You're allowed to carry that in the chotzer. Ubemavoi also, but you can't carry it into the mavoi. Rav Shimon Mater, but Rav Shimon says it's moter. Rav Shimon says moter. Shalhei Rav Shimon Oimer calls Machehem Shal Rabim. Any time that it belongs to the Rabim, that it belongs to Rabim have it. V'shach v'lo Eruv, and they forgot and did not make an Eruv. Gag v'chaser v'achsadr v'pasas v'karpa v'mavoi. Now here you see Rav Shimon's shita where he says not only the gag v'chaser, but he says of achsadr he says v'pasas the karpaf umovi, also karpaf umovi. That's Rav Shimon's shita. Kul and rishus achasein. They're all considered one rishus. Now, what do we see over here at time of the lo yirvu? Why is it mutter to carry these from the chotzer to the movi? Because there's no eruv. Ha eruv loy, which implies that there be an eruv, then you would not be allowed to carry it, because if there's an eruv, therefore be an eruv, we would say that would be choishish, rather, that there might be kelim started off Shabbos in the houses, and since there's an eruv, they can bring it into the chotzer, and you might bring those kelim as well into the movi. Doesn't this show you the shita of Rav? Meaning, and therefore, how we would understand that he says, Rav Shimon says, Kol Zman Shein Shel Rabim, Rashi explains, is if it belongs to the Rabim, and therefore you can't carry that from the houses to the chotzer because there's Rabim and there's no Eruv, so we're not concerned that it be kelim of the houses and the chotzer, then it's mutar. But if it would not be shel Rabim, it would be shel Yachid, then you're allowed to bring kelim from the house to the chotzer. You don't need an Eruv, there's no Eruv, it's shel Yachid, then it would be also because there might be kelim that started off Shabbos in the house. So isn't this clearly a raya to Rav? The Gemara says, no, my loy irvu. Your understanding of irvu is not correct. You understand irvu means that the chotzer, each individual chotzer made their own eruv, and or did not make their own eruv. That if they made their own eruv, it's also because there might be items started off from the house into the chotzer. No, that's not what it means. My loy irvu chotzeres b'hadei hadadi. It means they did not make an eruv together with each other. That's what it means. But chotzer bottom eruv. But each individual chotzer did make an eruv with on its own, and there could be items of the house started off in the house and the chotzer. What does it mean lo eruv? They didn't make an eruv together, meaning that there was no sheet of mavuos which would allow them to carry in the moway. That's what it means. Gemara says, it says they did not make an eruv, which means mashman they didn't make any eruv whatsoever. Gemara says, my lo eruv. No, what does it mean? Lo eruv lo nishtatu. It is a lashon of nishtatu. Sometimes the lashon of eruv and shituf interchanged. It means lo yervu lo nishtatu. They didn't make a shita mavuas, and therefore you can't carry from the chotzer to the moving. By saying, I'll tell you another answer of Shimon, the Rabbanan Kamel. Really, Rav Shimon is just addressing the Rabbanan. He's talking to them according to their sheet. According to me, it makes no difference if Ervu lo Ervu. I'm not chayshish. We're not chayshish that you might bring the kalim from that house that originated in the house into the other chotzer and the movi. According to you, that you do aser carrying these types of things, that you aser carrying from these areas because you might carry kalim that started from the houses. But you should be minded to me that when there's no eruv, that it's considered to be one rishus. And the Rabbanan say no. They hold that a mavoi is not the same rishus. Yes, a gag and a chotzer is the same rishus, but a chotzer and a chsadra, they're the same rishus, but they hold that a mavoi is not the same rishus, and therefore a chsadra is not. So in order to carry from the chotzer to the mavoi is also because you, Rav Shimon, hold that it's one rishus, and you hold therefore that it's mutter to carry from one to the other, and you hold, Rav Shimon, that even where there is an eruv, it's mutter. Now we hold if there is an eruv, it's also, because we are chayshish that you might carry kalim from the houses that originated houses, you might carry it. But we hold, the Rabbanan say, not like you. We hold that even if there is no eruv, and there's no chashash that you might carry kalim from the houses that originated houses into the movi, it's still also because a movi and a chotzer is not rishus achas.